All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got a very special guest on the show today. This is Mob the Gamer, aka the Minister of Badness. I'm sure that you've seen him lurking around on the channel in the shadows as a moderator. He's also an incredible musician, and I wanted to bring him on the show today just to talk about some of his processes, some of his backstory. Actually had a lot of recent success on his streaming platforms, and I really want to dive into that as well because many of you who watch the show or who follow this podcast, you're also musicians yourself who release music. And so, when you get a chance to kind of pick the brain of these individuals who's got hundreds of thousands of streams and they're just as cordial as Mob is, it makes you just want to reach out and say, hey, share your wisdom. And I believe he's going to help us out today. So first off, let's just go ahead and introduce yourself. Where are you from? Like a little bit of your backstory.
Hello, my real name is 𝗏𝗏𝗍𝗲. I'm originally Lebanese. I was born and raised in Kuwait, and now I'm studying in Romania for college.
Nice. So I've listened to a ton of your music. You've actually submitted several songs for the
Yeah,
HSS monthly song contest. Super cool, by the way.
thank you.
And then that brings me to the question that where does your love of music come from? Like, where was that stemmed out of?
It was a bit gradual because I was listening to a lot of music on TV, which was pretty cut because hip hop music was very dirty back in the day. And yeah, in Kuwait, they don't like that. So I bought my first album, which was 50 Cent's Massacre. I got it on cassette tape.
Nice.
And I started listening to it, and I was like, okay, I need to change something else. And music stores used to give you remixes, or they would tell you, choose your songs from this catalog and we'll put it in one cassette. And I got like Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Dr. Dre, the big names, and I started listening to them, and I started wanting to become a DJ for some reason, and that's where my name came from, Mob. It was MOB. It was like a virtual DJ 3. There's a sample that says MOB, and I was like, that's a cool name. I'm gonna take it, not knowing the actual meaning in hip hop culture. So after that, I felt like, no, to become a DJ, you need, your gear, your turntables and stuff. I want something on my computer. So one day, I was like, I want to make my own music. I want to write them. So yeah, that's how I started. It was gradual. It was slow, but here I am.
Well, you kind of segued into the next question that I had for you, which was, like when did that love of music turn into I want to make my own music? And so it was just sort of a gradual process that you just like developed.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And that seems like it's what, most musicians, they didn't intrinsically just, come into the world and be like, ta-da, I've got a guitar in my
right,
hand or I've got a
right.
microphone in my hand. And so usually it stems out of that love for music. So you said
Hmm.
like you grew up listening and leaning more towards the hip hop. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And actually, writing music was by mistake. Uh, Back when I was in the fifth grade, there was a dancing contest, and they were like, "Who wants to join in?" I'm not a dancer, but the teacher said, I actually was studied, me and my brother, in an Indian school. That's how we learned English, from an Indian school.
Wow.
And yeah, and the teacher said, "Well, you're gonna skip 3 or 4 classes per day." And I was like, "Okay, let's go." Me, my brother, and all my friends joined. You know, just to skip class. So in the seventh grade, my years were like this: 2006, sixth grade; 2007, seventh grade. So in 2007, seventh grade, I saw the same teacher, my English teacher, and they were like fiddling around with the stage, like, setting it up, our school stage. And it's like, "Hey, ma'am, what's going on?" And she's like, "Oh, it's a poetry contest." And immediately I remembered skipping class, and I'm like, I want to join, not because I'm a poet or I like poetry. I just want to skip class. And she was like, no, you can't. This is only for the 5th and 6th grade. But you can write me something and show me in my office. We all know where her office was. Because I was young and stupid, I thought that was a demand. That was like, go do it and show me.
Yeah.
And I was scared. So I went back home and I started, writing, you're a cat in the hat, whatever. I
Right.
saw a bat, you know. And I went to the teacher and I was like, here you go. And she was like, okay, you got the idea of rhyming, but it's much deeper. And for someone that isn't interested and young, like telling them that it's not about rhyming, it's deeper and emotions, I didn't really get it. So I took that as a challenge and I kept writing and writing and writing and writing until I got to a point where she said, this is not poetry, this is songs. You're writing music. And I was like, okay, cool. And for some reason, like this relationship between me and her faded out, like going to her office and giving her, my, poem. I just kept writing. And one day in 2008, there was a new TV channel called 𝗏𝗏, which means fun, and it's a music channel. I clicked on it, and this Saudi Arabian rapper, he's still one of my idols. His name is 𝗏𝗍. He's the only hip hop artist in the Arab world that has his music sold in stores. There's no other hip hop artist that gets sold, and he is
Wow.
so, yeah, he was very encouraging. We spoke. He actually critiqued one of my songs, which is Random Thoughts too, and he's actually one of the hosts in Arab's Got Talent. He's the spokesman.
Nice.
One of them. We have two. And yeah, well, he's now too busy to chit chat, but I still love him. And once I saw his video, I was like, I want to be like him, because he mixed not just genres, languages, and cultures, his Saudi Arabian culture and the American culture, because he studied in America. I fell in love with the process, not the end result.
Right. So do you feel like that this gentleman actually was probably your biggest inspiration to get you to where you're at today? Would you say that?
Back then, yeah. Now it's Michael Jackson through and through.
Through and through.
My
Michael
Yeah,
Jackson.
my his music though, his personality is like, he's nice. I love that he's very polite, but he's like kind of too soft to be, a rapper or a
Right.
hip hop artist, But yeah, man, his music, like no one can deny. Even the haters that hate him always say, but he's a good musician. He's,
Yep.
the perfect. Everyone wanted to become Michael Jackson. Even now, people are like dressing up like him, doing facial surgery to look like him. I mean, what can you say? He was a genius.
So a little bit of introspect here, sort of sharing with you is growing up, I knew who he was, but I never really gravitated towards his music at all. I
Hmm.
mean, there were certain songs like I remember whenever I was younger, Thriller scared me to death. I mean, I was a little kid, and the first time I seen that, I was like, "Oh, this is cool." And
Right.
then whenever it went into Zombie Michael, I was like, "Whoa, what? Get away from me!" And I remember being so terrified of Michael Jackson after that. And then as I grew up in school and stuff, Michael Jackson was sort of a byword. It was like almost like a slang term, like someone would call you if you were
Right.
acted a certain way. And so it was like
Hmm.
always seen in like a bad connotation, in a bad light. And then here
Right.
recently, you started sharing with me some of the inner workings, some of these multi-tracks and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, getting older now, I've grown to appreciate his music more over the years. But then after
Hmm.
seeing the multi-tracks, reading some of these stories and doing the research for these videos that we've done, it's given me like a whole new respect for this guy, because I realized like there's much more to Michael than just Michael Jackson. I
Right.
mean, all of the things that he did, all of the people that he affected, the lives that he changed, I believe it was like $500 million that he donated to charities.
Yeah.
Um, it was just crazy. And he was the only individual that I know of right now that's made it into the Guinness Book of World Records for the most album sales and
Yeah.
single sales. I'm like, I think it was actually the most successful artist. So I was
Of
like,
all time, yeah.
yeah, I'm like, good night. But then like, I think what really sold me as a mix engineer and as a musician myself was reading these stories about Bruce Sweeting and Quincy Jones and some of their um, inner workings in the studio. And then Michael like stepping in and being like, yeah, okay, we'll do that. We'll do this, but I really want to leave it this way. And it really like brought it home to me, because I'm like, even though Michael appeared to be like sort of just led by the hand of these individuals, at the same time, he was like, I know what good music is. Just let me have my,
Right.
my voice.
Right.
And
Right.
every single time he was like, no, we're leaving the long intro in. No, we're going to do it this way. It was like a huge hit. And you think Quincy Jones would have learned after a while, just let Michael do what he wants to do. But of course, like every good producer, you know, he wants to try to, but I have to say, and I feel like I'm taking over the interview, but
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I have to say that because of you sharing that with me, those multi-tracks especially, it led me down this path of really like wholeheartedly appreciating Michael Jackson on a whole new level. And then you're like, dude, you should do a reaction video to this. And I never even thought about that. And so I do the reaction video, and these Michael Jackson fans start coming out of the woodwork, and they're like, do more, do more. And some of the comments I've been getting from them and some of the messages, it's just like he created a community, whether he wanted to or not, of such caring, kind individuals that just love music.
True.
Like everybody that's ever like been like, I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan. They just love music.
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Even myself, I'm like, when will we have another Michael Jackson reaction? when will you do one? Come on, do Scream, do this one.
Yeah.
And yeah, because I'm a fan, and I like when people realize how good he was, because on the surface, music is music, you know.
Right.
People like people that don't make music, the fans don't realize how much work goes in it, and you feel like the engineers and the um, instrumentalists appreciate the people that worked on it. But for example, the fans would give the credit all to Michael Jackson. They wouldn't care about Bruce Sweeting. They wouldn't care about Quincy Jones. It's Michael Jackson. It's the icon, you know, because he built a name for himself. Like if you asked about well, who's the guitarist on Beat It? Who was the mixing engineer? Who was the mastering engineer? They're like, Michael Jackson. I don't know. You know, it doesn't. I just want to listen to it, because we have another appreciation, and we like, because big fans after his death, after all the multi-tracks got leaked and, you know, are available online, people start appreciating it more and more, and we want to watch people realizing like, oh wow, okay, I didn't realize it was this good. I didn't realize they used that technique or trick. And that's why people like, it is hard to do a reaction video saying, oh, watching Michael Jackson for the first time, or no, like, it's like we are born knowing who Michael Jackson is at this point. You know, like my unborn children know who Michael Jackson is. So it is hard to see that. There are some people that are clickbaity. Oh, listening to Michael Jackson Thriller for the first time. What are you talking about? It's everywhere. It's like it became a meme with him like eating the popcorn.
Right.
Like, so yeah, like that's why us fans, we gravitate towards watching home videos of him, or multi-tracks, or stems, or yeah, because they are like little nuggets around the internet that you have to look really, really close to find them. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually just started following someone on Instagram. I think it's actually called Michael Jackson Fans is the guy's name, and or girl's name, whoever it might be, which is yet again another awesome thing that I have seen sort of this with a lot of artists. Like there's usually like a divide, sort of like either guys really like this guy or women really like this woman. With Michael Jackson, it was like anybody and everybody,
everyone,
kids,
yeah.
Toddlers. I mean, there was people like I was talking to, they were like, yeah, I used to put Michael Jackson on just to get my kid to go to sleep. And I'm like, wow, you know, I mean, like he was literally able to touch like everybody on a deeper level than a lot of artists will
Exactly,
ever probably get
exactly,
to. Um,
exactly.
that brings me to another great question, because speaking of successful artists, and although you may not have reached the apex of where Michael was, in fact, I don't know if anyone ever will, but
Obviously.
there are a lot of the songs that you've created that have, in my eyes, been madly successful. I want to talk about some of these. Like, for instance, I was looking through your Spotify playlist, and you have hundreds of thousands of streams on some of these songs. Like, which ones are you the most proud of? Which ones, if you could just like for a minute, like brag on yourself, tout these numbers, man. We got to hear these.
Well, "Come to Me" was the first song I produced, even though it mostly are samples,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the first one from start to finish, I produced and sang on, because I produced a lot of beats. That's what we call them, or instrumentals, and I never used them. I was like, okay, I know how I did that. I don't really care about rapping on it or singing on it. But with "Come to Me," it is a long process, because I produced it in 2016. I recorded it in the end of 2016. Sent the song to Brian. Shout out to Brian and his family. And he was like, "Yo, I love it." I always send music to him for feedback. And he was like, "Yo, I want a verse on this one." And I was like, "Okay, you got it." And it took time for him until I went to Romania. Actually, when I started my university, and in 2017, and he gave me back the multi tracks for his verse, and I started mixing. In 2018, I put it out on YouTube, but if something was missing, it wasn't hype enough. No marketing. I was just like, yeah, whatever. Here it goes. So I took it out maybe a month later. I had like 400 views on it, and I kind of slept on it. I kept writing other music and stuff, and then in 2020, my friend told me, "Why don't you put your music on Spotify and Apple Music?" And I was like, "Okay." And that's when I put it. It was like the need for my friends to listen to it on different platforms what made me put it, because I'm not into streams or numbers or whatever. I just make music because I love to. The process of recording and writing, and not so much mixing. Mixing is very tedious, especially when I record like 60 different layers
Right.
and stuff. And I have to, because my room isn't acoustically treated, I have to manually, I mean, you did it before, remove the noise from every take and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I love mixing now because I'm learning stuff, especially from your videos. And yeah, and I'm very proud of Brace, my last single. I'm very proud
So
of
I
it.
know you said you're not big on the numbers,
Yeah.
but how many streams do you currently have on Brace?
136,000.
My goodness, folks, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So when when you put a song out now, what kind of marketing are you doing to get these songs into the ears of your listeners?
Well, first, it depends on the song,
Right.
because uh, I don't like to be called a rapper, because you've heard me sing and you've heard me do pop music. Like "Come to Me" is not a rap song. Just Brian is rapping on it. I'm singing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of moving away from rap. So you have to target the audience. So, for example, my upcoming single, "Side to Side," who should I target this for? Rappers won't like this, because the rappers I know are like what we call lyrical rappers. And
Right.
this song is just a feel good song. Go dance, have fun, live your life. And so maybe they would enjoy it for what it is, but they won't appreciate it as a legit song. So
Gotcha.
I won't target them. I would target the people that are like partying, like teenagers. And I mean, I'm kind of a teenager. I'm still in college, but like I would target the people that like this kind of music. The first step you have to do is create an eye-catching cover. You want people to look at it. When you say that, when people say don't judge a book by its cover, well, this is not a book. This is a song. And the cover would tell you how much work has done for the marketing, because the cover is also a marketing technique, making a good cover. So for example, with side to side, it's orange, it's very bright, it's very 70s style, grainy, like an effect I did. And it is on purpose. I did it on purpose. I didn't want to have just, if you saw "Come to Me," it's just colors with the name of the song, my name, and Brian. But that's not enough. You want, because it is bigger. This song is bigger, way bigger than "Come to Me," in my opinion. After you have an eye-catching cover, you have to create a promo video. You have to have steps. This is way before you even put it to distribution. After you have the cover, after you have the set a date for everything, get a guy to put like "coming soon," or if you don't have a date, "coming soon," or for side to side I had "coming August 5th,"
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I had the date in my mind. And then you put it in the distribution. You have DistroKid, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have both DistroKid and CD Baby. I use both. With distribution, if you want to do it first, you can do it. I had to do it first because CD Baby take a lot of time for them to accept the song. They have to check it for copyright issues and stuff. Uh, DistroKid doesn't do that. Just in a day, you get accepted immediately. But you have to have at least 3 weeks, right? So you can get everything ready. After you get accepted, now you have 3 weeks to market it. The promo video that I mentioned, you start pushing it in social media immediately. Don't sleep on it. Don't be like, oh, well, whatever. I put it on Twitter. I put it on, what was it? TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, everywhere. I just put it everywhere. I just like, here you go. Look at it.
Yeah.
And I want as many people to see it. And then if you have a business account on Instagram, you can promote it. That's what I do. I promote it. Now, as you know, I'm a student. I don't have that big budget. Like I put $20 or $30 into it and hope for the best. And sometimes I would like cut it. I would be like, okay, $20 before release, $20 after release. Or if I got more, sure.
Right.
And then you do it. People don't need to love your song. That's where the eye-catching cover has to work. They need to see it.
Right.
It's just exposure. You can promote just the cover with "coming soon" written on it. You know, for the people to see it, because once it releases and then you promote it again, people will be like, oh, I remember seeing this one a month ago or
Mm-hmm.
a couple of weeks. Let me check what it is. Okay, so let's say out of 100, maybe 10 would click on it, right? And out of those 90 that didn't click on it, they might find it somewhere else. And they'll be like, okay, what is this? Let me check it. Like
Right.
they get curious. So maybe 30 or 50 out of the 100 click on it and watch it. Maybe out of the 50, 20 people would actually love your music or would be curious enough to check your other music and follow you. It is a gamble because you're putting a lot of money. Now, if you want to be super professionals, would like put 20K dollars into promotion everywhere. I just do it on Instagram because Instagram uh, is easier. For Facebook, you need to have Pixel and Google Ads and stuff. I'm not into that. So
Oh yeah, that stuff gets
I
way over my head.
yeah, me too, man. Like you'd think that I know, but I really don't. So yeah, I primarily use Instagram to promote, and then after release, I do playlisting. I put it on, like most of my streams are playlists, and I'm getting a lot of Instagram follows from people that just found me on Spotify through a playlist.
Nice.
Sometimes they would message me like, "Hey, I really like your music," or on YouTube, they would just write fire or like the emoji of fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I know this guy came from Spotify because there's no way I know this guy, or
Right.
he's not from Romania, so probably. I mean, I'm getting people from Israel, Tel Aviv, and Kazakhstan, and Indonesia, and everywhere. I'm like, wow, where's the where are they coming from? To the point where I'm like, don't get me wrong, I'm very appreciative. Like when someone listens to my song, you don't even have to tell me it's good or bad. Just listening to it,
Right.
giving me a chance, it's like I'm happy. But at the end of the day, numbers are just numbers. Like I have hundreds of thousands of streams, doesn't mean I have hundreds of thousands of fans, you
Right.
know, because Spotify is a rotation based streaming platform. Playlisting, it just
That's a
keeps
good
going
point.
random,
That's a really good
you
point
know?
that you've made just there, because I think a lot of times people see numbers and they're like, oh, that person's got to be incredibly wealthy. They've got to be incredibly, like, I don't know how many times I've had people reach out to me and ask me, like, why are you selling membership services when you make a ton of money on YouTube? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Just because I might have even, 10,000 subscribers, I don't, that doesn't equate to like X amount of dollars. In fact,
Sure.
for my private Patreon members, I actually showed them exactly what I make, and you were there,
Yeah.
what I actually make a month through Patreon and through YouTube. And there was a lot of people that contacted out of that group afterwards and was like, wow, I didn't realize you're putting a lot of time into this for getting like a drop in the bucket. So
Yeah.
with that being said, when you put these out there and you see the numbers coming in, um, as an artist, because you're on the back end of it, what that means for you. And so that's why you're not so numbers driven,
Yeah.
which is very intelligent. It's a smart way to be, because like you said earlier, if you keep striving and obtaining to, I want to have as many streams as this person, or I want to have as many streams as that person, you don't actually realize what's on the other side of the screen, so to speak, sometimes.
You shouldn't aim for enough, because once you get in the mentality of cloud chasing,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to do with music, anything. That's when you lose your love for the craft you're doing.
Exactly.
Photography, music. Like you're like, okay, this guy did a trap song with autotune and whatever. I'll do the same. Whatever. I just want numbers. I just want fans. He's probably getting a lot of money, and then, I'm okay with disclosing how I make. Like, actually, this month I made $7. Actually, for the past 2 months, and CD Baby doesn't allow me to withdraw it until it's $10. You know,
Wow.
I'm okay with disclosing it, because here's the thing: you don't really get money. Big artists get money from touring.
Right.
There's barely CD distribution anymore, or even CD duplication,
Mm-hmm.
right? And uh, people need to understand that not rappers, indie artists are making a lot of money now from live streams.
Yeah.
Man, even big artists. You got T-Pain, you got Chris Calico, you got Timbaland. Who else? A lot of Snoop Dogg. They're all streaming on Twitch, and they're just like getting money from donations, or hey, give me a shout out if I'll give you $5. Say my name or whatever. Answer my question, and that's how they make money now, because especially with now with COVID, everything stopped. There's no touring. It's now coming back slowly,
Hmm.
but you saw a lot of these big untouchable artists just chilling online,
Yeah.
eating biscuits and drinking cola or whatever. And you're like, wow, okay, they're just like as messy as we are, and as lazy as we are. They just like know how to work properly and manage their work. That's it. That's all it is. We don't make, as indie artists or independent artists, we don't make a lot of money. We put more work because we love the craft.
Right.
Sometimes people would like tell us that you're not hanging out. What are you doing? I'm working on my music.
Yeah.
Aren't you feeling lonely? Yeah, but I'm working on my music. Why? Because I am passion driven. I want to do more. I want to sit down and write songs. Sometimes I don't get writer's block. I get mood swings. I get like I'm not in the mood to write right now. You
Right.
know, but sometimes I get that inspiration. I get inspired by music, by the way. I don't get like how painters get inspired by nature and stuff.
Hmm.
No, I get inspired by listening to, as I mentioned, Billie Eilish's music, the new album. I just listen. I'm like, I can get the same quality here, you know. And I get inspired, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna work now. I'm gonna put in more work. Uh, I'm gonna make more music. You know.
That actually
Uh,
brings me to a point because when you brought up the Billie Eilish album and you said yourself, like I have personally not listened to it, but you said it sounds like very like home studio
yeah,
recorded.
yeah,
That's a genius move because if you think about it, Billie Eilish came from those ranks up, and
yeah.
where she started was in a home
SoundCloud.
studio, and she
Yeah,
started like with home studio recordings. So for her to make a new album and not have it sound like studio professional, that's a genius move because all of the fans that have followed her from day one are going, that's Billie Eilish. That's not Studio
exactly,
B of
exactly.
Ocean Way Studios, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So that, and I want to, if you can, please, you're getting me all excited now. If you can, please go back and unpack this thing because I think this will be very beneficial for the listeners and myself included.
Right.
Unpack this whole playlisting thing because I think what you touched on was
Yeah.
something that you don't have to feel sleazy or like internet salesman to get your
Hmm.
music out there if you do it this way because you're just putting yourself in the hat with other things that other people want to listen to, correct?
True. But you'll get a lot of rejections, and you have to be okay with it. If you
That
like
yeah, that is
an
definitely a part of
artist,
musicians.
yeah, an artist should be an athlete, like an athlete. Like when he loses or gets rejected, just lift your head up and be like, okay, next, next.
Right.
And this is what's nice about playlisting is like you can submit to multiple at once. You're not submitting to one and waiting. It's not like trying to publish a book, right? No, you and there are free sites or places to submit your playlist, your song to playlists, and there are paid ones, and they get from $1 up to like 300.
Wow.
And yeah, even more if you want those Spotify big leagues playlists that once you open Spotify, it's right in your face. And yeah, it is the easiest way to get streams and to get fans actually. Like once people listen to you, I actually like to put my music in a playlist, but like that people made for themselves,
Yeah, like a curated
and they're
playlist.
sharing, yeah, and they're sharing it with friends, because I get accepted way easily with them because they're just normal people.
Sure. Yeah.
Some of them don't accept me because it's not the mood of their playlist. They want something cheery, and for example, Brace isn't really cheery, you know. And you start getting a lot of plays, a lot of plays. You get another way to submit to a playlist is through your distributor. You
Mm-hmm.
have to have at least, as I said, 3 weeks to a four. Sorry, from 3 to 4 weeks period from releasing the song. Once you go to Spotify, artist.spotify.com, you will see your release. And it says submit to playlist. And
Nice.
this is the weekly thing that Spotify has. It has the I'm sorry, I'm very bad with names when it comes to Spotify. The radio stuff, and they just put your music out for people to know that, hey, look, this is new. Check it out.
Right.
And Spotify is very smart. They won't give your music out to people that listen to rock, for example. For me,
Oh,
they won't
nice.
like submit my music to a rock listener. They will
So they
submit it to
submit it
someone.
to like a targeted niche audience that's
Exactly,
going
yeah.
to. Wow.
Because the submission form is like, which instruments did you use? What language? What
Nice.
kind of religion background? You can leave it. I always leave it because I don't put religion in art at all, or politics. I don't like that. You can, but I don't do that. Uh, what kind of genre? What kind of artist do you sound like?
Yeah.
Pick
Yeah.
three.
That's
You know.
huge right there.
So yeah, and if you get accepted, for example, I always put like BTS. Not always, but for side to side, because it is side to side is actually inspired by Butter by BTS.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to that. I'm like, I want to do like a summer jam track,
Nice.
and that's where it came from. So you can choose whatever, and if you get accepted, they will put it to not all of them, to some listeners that are like listening to the similar stuff that you put in the form. And yeah, this is how you get playlisted. It is very easy, and the rejection isn't bad because it's not face to face. They're not telling you no, you know, get out. They're
Right.
not saying that. They're like, oh, sorry, it doesn't fit our playlist. It doesn't fit the category we want. And it's just okay. Thank you. Next, 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 and it happens pretty fast, like in a day or two. And it is the most useful weapon for marketing, but you need to have a budget if you want like good ones. Like I use the $1 ones because they're easier. The free ones, they don't always accept you. They try to show like big playlists, but they would never accept a free submission. They always want like money. And here's the thing, you're paying for the submission. If you get rejected, they still have the money. You don't get it back.
Right.
So you have to put that in mind.
So, what's your creative process when it comes to writing songs?
When I'm writing music, I have three ways of writing music. I have the rapper way, which is
Mm-hmm.
listen to a beat and start writing for it.
Nice.
The second way is like, I think I call it the rock way, where I have the lyrics in my mind. I just don't have the music, or I
Gotcha.
would like have a melody and start writing to it. And the second one is on my phone, the memo one. I would write a line, or the recorder. I would just like, for side to side, literally, the chorus was "Da-na-na-na-na-na-na." Never never say goodbye. That's the name of the song. Never never say goodbye. And once I got the full beat, because I got the melody, just the guitar melody, moving from side to side. Now that's, I changed the lyric to fit the song. And yeah, this is like, I create a melody and just write. I'm very good at writing lyrics to melodies. Um, I don't know why. I think because Michael Jackson does it, especially in Smooth Criminal. Pam para para pam. As I came into the window with the sound of a crescendo. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it was like on the beat, on the melody exactly, and I love that. And a lot of my music is that, just following a melody. So yeah, it's just like three normal steps. Nothing wow. I'm not like there's no angel coming down telling me here's the perfect word. No,
Right.
it takes a lot of time for me. Side to side, it took me 2 months to write it properly. And even the flow in side to side, I got help from the producer himself. He sent me what we call a top line, which is just him humming.
Mm-hmm.
And by mistake, he said, "I'm living the dream." Da, 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 da. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm living the dream, partying hard night and day, drinking shots now all the way. And I started writing to the melody he was humming, and that's how I created. It is okay to get help, but I would never take a rap song, just a rap song. If it's pop or sing songy, yeah, it is okay for me. I feel like it's okay, but a rap song, I would never let anyone write for me. It feels so fake.
Yeah.
A lot of people like are having this conversation about ghostwriters. Is
Mm-hmm.
it okay to have a ghostwriter? I mean, if it's a chorus, if it's a singing part, yeah, sure. But if it's rap, no.
See, and I'm with the songs that I write too, and here recently I've been doing a lot of collaborations
Right.
within the group. I'm like, if I'm producing the song and it's going to be released under my name, like under my banner, I am
Yeah.
very precious with those lyrics. Like I've had people like suggesting stuff within the group, like, "Hey, what about this?" And I'm like, I'm just gonna wait for that to come to me because I want those lyrics to feel real. And so, like
Exactly.
with the recent song that I'm getting ready to release myself, which as of right now is going to be entitled "Viral,"
Yeah.
um, I've had a lot of people reaching out and being like, "What about this? And what about that? Maybe we could change this." And as much as
Even I did it. Even I
yeah,
did it.
no,
Yeah.
it's great too, but and
Yeah.
not to be, maybe this will be for those people listening that have made those suggestions. It's nothing against you. It's a personal preference that like
Yeah, of
if a
course.
song like starts to flow out of me, like I feel like it has to be me. Otherwise, when I release it, it's not going to be me,
Exactly.
and
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to feel like, I don't know. I think
Yeah.
everybody's different, and some people may even be like completely fine with, hey, you write my songs, I'll make the money. But for me, I feel like it's one of those, or in our case, I'll make the $7. But in in our case, it's like more of a uh, such an inner expression
Hmm.
that if anyone else was to write outside of that, it would no longer fit right. So maybe that's just my thoughts on it. But
No,
um,
you are very correct because this is how I feel, especially rappers. Do you know that Eminem doesn't write his raps normally? He would literally write a graph or a
hmm
paragraph, sorry, on one end of the paper, write the other, just jumble them up. And when he was asked about it, he's like, because I don't want people to take my rhymes and copy them. I don't want them to look at it and be like, okay, I can use that. It's he jumbles them up in a way he can read and understand, like where even he one song he made a joke about it. He's like, he pauses the song and he's like, oh sorry, I write small,
yeah,
he did a joke, and I was like, this actually, he's very protective, yet he is one of the best rappers, period.
yeah,
His lyrical abilities, like, I love Eminem. And even Alexei, shout out to Alexei, he even told me, when you rap, because I'm very childish, I told you about my childishness when
hmm
it comes to music. Even in real life, like I'm like, I love SpongeBob, I love cartoons, and
nothing wrong with that.
yeah. And Alexei told me, you should listen to a lot of Eminem music and learn how he mixes them. And I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, you're right. Because sometimes as musicians, when we listen to music, as I said with Billie Eilish, the first thing that popped out to me is like, this doesn't sound super studio processed.
right.
It's like the beat, the music itself, the instrumental. Yes, it sounds really good, but her vocals are dry when they don't need to be dry.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this one is louder than the other. It sounds like they're having fun. If you heard "Therefore I Am," she's laughing in the middle of the song. It's just having fun. Have fun with the process, and I love that. It gives me inspiration. And yeah, like back to having ghostwriters. When it comes to rap, I'm against that. When it comes to singing normal songs, pop, R&B, yeah, because you can't be a chameleon with everything. You
Mm.
know, you can't be a Michael Jackson. It takes a
Right.
lot of time. It takes a lot of time. I mean, Michael Jackson was born into music. You know, so you can't compare yourself like, oh, he did rap at the end of his years. He did some rap.
Mm-hmm.
He, a king of pop. He was actually called the king of pop, rock and soul.
Yeah.
But people were like, he just did beat it. Doesn't mean he's the king of rock.
Right.
You know, the king of soul always stayed James Brown, in my opinion. So yeah, the king of pop just like was more iconic than all three of them. So yeah, like it is okay to wanting to be someone else, but don't waste your life trying to copy them,
Right.
especially as we said before with cloud chasing. Don't look at others and don't compare. Don't compare, because if you think that he's better than you, trust me, there's someone better than him, and
Mm-hmm.
he knows someone better than him.
Right.
You know, and that artist is probably looking at them and it's like, wow, I want to be like him. Michael Jackson started as like a James Brown dancer. He wanted to be like James Brown.
Yep.
You know, he didn't like okay, I'm gonna make my own style, my own sound, my own fingerprint in music. You know, no, he just got a lot of inspiration and did his own thing. So yeah.
Can you remember, just off the top of your head, can you remember an aha moment in your musical development
Yeah.
where you just immediately was like, okay, I've went to the next level? Like when and where was that moment at?
Uh, as I told you before, while we were prepping, I used to use Audacity to record my music, and I always listened to Tech9 and 𝗏𝗏𝗀, and their mixes always had stereo imaging
Mm-hmm.
with vocals. 𝗏𝗏𝗀 had this deep, he still has it, deep voice, and they EQ the low end. Really, they remove the low end, and it's on the sides. And I didn't know about panning. I didn't know anything about panning. I was like, how is he in my ears yet
Right.
he's not in the middle, you know? And to copy that effect for backup vocals, do you know what I did? I started recording my backup vocals in stereo, putting a stereo delay, and the left side 22%, the the right side minus 22%, and they're just like kind of split them just a little bit,
Nice.
and it will be inverted, like it will be panned. The problem is that you're taking one vocal take, and you're basically copying them, panning them, and just moving them differently. On headphones, it sounds amazing. On a mono speaker like your phone, or I don't know, some other, even your laptop, it would sound like a robot voice. It would sound very
Yep.
robotic. So one day I was like, well, if it's two sounds delayed, blah blah blah, why don't I record and pan it to the left, record another, pan it to the right? And I did it, and I was like, aha, so this is
Mm-hmm.
how you do it. And I was like, wow. And I'm still proud of that moment. because I figured it out myself logically. I thought about it. I didn't go to YouTube and I'm like, how do you do backup vocals?
Yeah.
Because there used to be backup vocals, but when you go to rap, a lot of rappers don't pan. They just keep it in the middle.
Right.
You know, like I had to, like now they do it. The first one I saw was Cochran, Graham Cochran.
Mm-hmm.
He said about panning. I was like, okay, so I was right about that. And yeah, that was like the biggest aha moment in my life.
Awesome.
And after that, I never recorded another song without uh, arranging or gain staging while recording. Like my first mix or my rough mix is literally straight out of the microphone. I would just pan it, use the faders to arrange it properly how I want to hear it. No compression, no EQ, just straight from the mic, because I'm home. You know, I don't have to go to a studio and waste a lot of time just doing all that. I'm home. I have all the time I want, you know, and it doesn't take like a second to pan your backup vocal to the left and pan the other to the right. You just do it. It's like a routine for me. Like I don't even think about it anymore. I just do it
Right.
unintentionally. So yeah, that's
Well,
that.
Mob, I could sit here and talk shop with you all day long, but I got a couple more questions I want to ask, and then we will have to cut this short. Well,
Cool.
I say cut it short, but even outside of this interview, we've been on here for like another hour before this. So,
Yeah.
which has been an awesome time to get to see you and talk to you face to
Same.
face,
Same.
and side by side. Ooh, like that. Yeah, I threw that in there. But with that being said, this is sort of a more a deeper question. I want to get this on a deeper level. But how has music, as a whole, how has music affected your life?
It shaped who I am. I'm not that kid on the block or that other kid that I never fit with others. Like if you look at pictures of me and my brother, you would see the difference in personality just from one picture. He's more into sports cars
Mm-hmm.
and sport, literally sports, and wearing good clothes. And I love my brother, you know, and but my personality has always been different. I'm the guy that wears the same shirt for like 3 or 4 days, sitting home in front of a computer, writing. You know, I don't know. I'm just like, it made me who I am. Now people don't tell me, oh, you're just a guy. No, they tell me, oh, you're the rapper. You're the musician.
Right.
Oh, I heard that one song. Oh, that's cool. It gave me another thing to brag about, to lift my head and be like, yeah, I'm a singer. You know, I'm a musician. Because even though it looks easy, it is not. You know it. As a musician,
Right.
becoming a musician is not easy at all. There's a lot of there's a big curve, a learning curve you have to go through. And even now, we're still learning. Like a year ago, I didn't know anything about sidechaining before you mentioned it. Just because you mentioned, I was like, "What the hell is he talking about?" Let me check other videos, and I learned sidechaining from you. And I was like, it opens something else. And I'm like, what if I sidechain instead of sidechain compression, I sidechained my reverb?
Mm-hmm.
Then I realized that they use it mostly for delays. It was like, oh, that's something else. I saw Warren doing sidechain distortion, and I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's something cool. And then I learned about parallel compression, and I'm like, wow. And then you got Andrew Sheps doing rear bus compression. I
Yeah.
think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's like, everything except the percussion elements are going to another bus and compressing them. I was like, wow, these are great techniques. It just open your eyes. It's another world, you know. Even Alexei one day texted me about mastering, and he started talking about LUFs and stuff, and I was like, what is he talking? I don't know anything about that. Let me check some videos, and then start learning. And then once I started mastering side to side, he started talking to me about LUFs, and I'm like, wow, I understand him.
Yeah.
It's so crazy because like 2 or 3 months ago, he was talking about it, and I had no idea what he was talking about. It's just, it's a gradual uh, process of learning. It is very slow. I met a lot of people that wanted to become musicians, and I tried to help them. Once they saw that, okay, so it's not instantaneous.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, I give up. I don't want to do
Yep.
this. It's too much work for me.
Bingo. You hit the nail on
Yeah,
the head.
yeah, it is. It is so much work, and you have to be persistent. You have to be passionate. Without the passion, I swear to God, no one would ever become a musician without the passion. Because Graham Cochran said it once. He said it. He said that while mixing, it is so easy to become so technical that you would forget about your passion.
Yeah.
You would forget. Like sometimes I would listen to my song and I wouldn't enjoy it. I'm just, did I mix it properly? Is this too much compression? I'm overthinking, and I forgot about my song, you know. And then you calm down, you take a day off, and you're like, nah, this actually sounds great. I did a
Right.
good job. Good job, mob. You know. And yeah, it is a steep learning curve, and you have to push through it. I mean, even the masters are telling you, I'm learning things every day. As you mentioned while we were chatting, you told me about Warren, how a child or a kid taught him something else, and I'm like, wow, I thought he knew everything. But you know, we learn every day. Being a musician, being an engineer, like uh, your job is different because you get to mix different sounds, different voices, different vocals, different genres. But for me, I'm mixing my own vocals. I learned how to EQ and compress my vocals to a song. But as an artist, and I mean, I know that you're a better artist than me because you can play the guitars. I can't, you know. But at the same time, our journeys were different. You know,
Right.
you took a different path than I did. Someone else would take a different path than I did. Uh, Michael Jackson without his father and his brothers would have never been Michael Jackson.
Right.
And I always think about that, and I'm like, yeah, it is. I'm very happy that I'm here at being a musician. It's super nice.
Well, that leads me to the final question, and I'm sure this one is not going to throw you for a loop because you've been following me way too long to know what's
Yeah,
coming. So this is a two-part question. Mob, what is your favorite color?
green, immediately.
What does the color green smell like?
Mint.
Immediately, he's got an
Yeah.
answer. He's
I
been
know
playing
it.
on this one. No, I'm just kidding. He knows.
I actually, when you say, I've watched a lot of your interviews, and when you asked this question, I immediately green mint. I'm like, wow, it just came. I didn't like. It's like I'm being interviewed here,
Right.
like watching, someone else, and I'm like, wow, you know,
It's so crazy to me though how creative people can immediately come up with an answer.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
wish I would have saved an interview that I had from years ago. Um, for whatever reason, it was on a hard drive that got destroyed.
hmm
Which maybe it wasn't supposed to come to surface. I don't know. But I was talking to a very analytical person. I won't mention their name, but they were very into room acoustics.
hmm
And I asked them this question, and it was literally like a blank stare. And the guy was like, "What do you mean? What does it smell like?" And I'm like, "What? Like, if you picture the color, or you're thinking like, what does that smell like to you?" And he goes,
exactly, yeah,
"It's it was almost like he was baffled. Like I just threw him for a loop for the next 40 years. He was just like, why would he even
Yeah, it was
ask
like,
me that?
it's a color. What do you mean? What does it taste or smell like?
Right. So, and that, brings me to, you've been talking about your childish side or your playful side, but I think as a musician, as an engineer, even as artists, we can't take ourselves so seriously.
Exactly.
We will end up, I think that's the point that sort of in closing that I would at least like to make is, for one, I appreciate your work and I
Thank you.
appreciate all that you're doing, but more so than anything, I appreciate that you are just being you.
Thank you.
To me, that is awesome. Now, I know you said, well, I can't play those instruments, so you're a better. No, I'm just a different shade of another painting, so to speak.
Right.
But although we're both painted with different brushes and different techniques, different people are going to appreciate that painting differently. Not everyone was a Van Gogh fan. Not everyone was
Right.
a Pablo Picasso fan, but they were wildly popular with
Right.
different people. However, everyone, artists everywhere, can look at those paintings and go, that's art.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
Mob, keep doing what you're doing, man. I love
Thank
what you're doing. I appreciate all of your support too. There are individuals that will probably never even understand the level of support that Mob has given me. And it's not monetary support so much as it is just sending me a text every once in a while, letting me know like, hey, I like what you did here, or maybe you could change this a little. I love that kind of honest feedback and critique sometimes because I need it. And I appreciate people like you who are willing to invest in me, not just with, like I said, not just monetarily, but, and he is a monthly member, but not just in that sense. Like sometimes, more times than anything, as a musician, as an artist, I'm sure you get this too, just someone coming by every once in a while and going, hey man, love what you're doing, is like, that's awesome.
Right.
Thank you so much. You
It
don't know
is.
what that did for me. So thank you so much for being you, man. I
You're
really
welcome.
greatly
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. And I have to thank you because, as I said, like a year prior to this, I didn't know a lot of techniques, and I found you through, was it Banganzo? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
forgot. Yeah,
Bongonzo. Yeah.
yeah, and he was like, I want my beat mixed. Here's Robert. He's very professional. I'm like, okay, let me check him out. Click. And I went into this rabbit hole of watching your videos over and over, and I'm like, whoa, I need to subscribe, and I just, as I said, you have such a personality that just grabs you, you're like, we want to watch more, every time you go live, I'm like, yes, let me get some drinks, get some chips, I want to sit down. Like, it doesn't matter what you talk. Sometimes, like the last time, the last live stream was about a rock song. I never knew about them. If you remember, you told me about the band. I was like, I never heard of them.
Oh yeah. Rush, Limelight.
Yeah,
Yeah. We talked
yeah,
about that.
yeah. And I was like, okay, I'll just watch. I just want to watch you react and talk and give me your experience, because it is fun. You are fun to watch, which I'm very appreciative. A lot of people are not fun to watch. They're just there to, obviously, to make money. They
Yeah.
don't really care about the viewer or anything. But you answer almost every question. You take your time. I mean, even with, like, one thing I really loved, you were showing Billie Jean, and one viewer asked you a question. While we were listening to Billie Jean, you open the settings and you start showing them, and you're zooming into the one where you were mixing the
Yeah.
song Billie Jean, and you zoomed into the settings, and you're like marking on the mouse, this one, and I'm like, wow, like he's helping while he has to do something else, and I'm like, so I'm like, even on behalf of that other guy, which I don't know his name, I don't know him, like, thank you for being this awesome, thank you for sharing your knowledge, even if to some people it is limited, because we're still learning,
Oh
like,
yeah. We all are. Absolutely.
yeah, if I made a video right now about my vocal chain, it'll be the same through everything. It's the same thing. It's not gonna change. Just some of the delay, reverb, or how I stack my vocals. That's it. But yeah, you're. I mean, you have such a great personality, man. I'm
I
really
greatly
glad I'm your
appreciate
friend.
that. You're
I'm really
you're
glad.
you're too kind. I do greatly appreciate that. And I, like I said, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And everyone look forward to seeing more of him on the channel, by the way. I've reached out to him and I've been pressuring him in a nice way. Like, hey, I've got a 5S video series and I want you to, maybe your vocal chain could be the break out of the box moment where you're like, I'm going to share this with people. And what better place to share it than in a community with individuals that already know you, love you. Every time you hop on, everyone, hey, Mob's here. So,
Yeah.
and it's one of the reasons too why I've made you a moderator, because I know that you already know me well enough to know like, what's Robert going to be okay with, what's he not.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that too.
Thank you.
But before we go, I want to help you out in another way. So where in the world can people find you? Like if they want to find your music, they want to find out more about you, where can they hunt you down?
Well, if you want to talk to me, I'm very open about. You can send me a friend request on Facebook, 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗃, or Instagram, Minister of Badness, TikTok, the same thing, Minister of Badness. You can listen to my music on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, everywhere. Just even Google me, Minister of Badness. I'm very glad that Google verified me, and I have my own knowledge panel. And yeah, I'm very glad and very proud about that. Like that
Nice.
moment, like, oh, I'm Googleable, you know.
Googleable. That's
Yeah,
going to be a shirt. I'm Googleable.
yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
the chat, man. This has been a breath of fresh air this morning. A great way to start the day, at least for me. I know it's like 3 or 4 p.m. over there now. So,
Yeah, it
um,
is.
but yeah, guys, if you are interested in checking him out, all of the applicable links will be included in the show notes of the podcast or in the description of the video. You owe it to yourself to go and check him out. If nothing else, you got to hear some of this man's music. I'm telling you, it's toe tapping. You can hear some fibers of Jackson in there. I'm telling you, there's NJ written in all of these tracks somewhere in there. So, once again, thank you so much, man. It's been great chatting with
Thank
you.
you for having me, man. Thank you for having me.